welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments.
Of course, this is a hate crime.
And if she's found guilty, then she has to face the consequences.
They normally end up killing some particular kinds of people.
It's a violation of human rights.
That's a very traumatic event.
So I just wanted to ask the panel about their own opinions on this topic.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sunday Sentiments. Sunday Sentiments is a segment on our YouTube channel where a panel comes together and discusses hot topics and current events from all across the world. Please do be aware though that the views that are shared on this panel do not reflect the views of Four Rings. These are everybody's personal opinions that they've decided to share with us. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoy the video.
Welcome everyone to Sunday Sentiments. Our topic today is the shooting in Denmark. And also we're going to be touching a bit on shooting elsewhere around the world, specifically America, and just doing a comparison and a discussion around that. So if you haven't heard of this news, there was a shooting in Copenhagen, Denmark, in a mall. 3 people have been killed in this shooting. A 22-year-old who apparently had posted some videos the day before showing that he had guns. He had 2 different types of guns. And in this video, it's showing like he's shooting himself. And the question is, why wasn't this flagged? I don't even think that's enough time, but people are asking. He had posted these videos on YouTube and then went on to kill people. And apparently he was known to the police already. So we just want to discuss this subject of shooting. We'll start with the shooting in Denmark. I want to hear your thoughts, especially the people who live in Denmark. Just give us your perspective as people living in Denmark. And then also we'll open it up to the rest of the panel to give their views on this very shocking news from what is supposed to be a peaceful country. So, okay, we'll start with Keshi and then move on to Shakira, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, actually, I was planning to go to that mall that Sunday, and yeah, I didn't go. So it was a shock because we didn't even know about the shooting because we hadn't turned on the news. It was a friend from Greece who sent text messages, who sent messages and asked, "Are you guys okay? We heard there's a shooting in Denmark." What? Because these are things you don't associate Denmark with. So that's when we turned on the TV and got the news. It was shocking, surprising, and just, it's something you can't even imagine because, yeah, like I said, we don't expect that. And we recently talked about shootings, mass shootings in America, and we said how, here in Denmark, people really don't have access to guns, except if they are if you have joined a shooting club, then they have permits to hold weapons, and they are specific weapons. But this guy had 2 different kinds of weapons, and I hear that he's part of a shooting club, but he doesn't have license to have those weapons. So it was shocking. Anyway, we are still wondering and thinking now. I don't dare go to such a mall because you don't know. You think you're safe, and suddenly everything changes. So those are my feelings about the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Keshi, for sharing, especially as someone from Copenhagen who lives very close to the mall. You said that you were thinking of going. So this is it, yeah? You wake up in the morning and you just don't know what is waiting for you. And it's unfortunate that these things, we keep hearing about them in the news time after time, even the places we thought were safe. Keshi, you said, Denmark is not a country where people can just have weapons if they like. And there you go. So you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we're obviously very sad for the victims. We're happy that our panelists from Copenhagen, thanks for sharing that you're safe. Yes, Shakira?
I just wanted to say, for me personally, it's not rare to hear a gunshot. Depending on where you are in Copenhagen, you will hear something, usually somebody shooting into the air as a warning or whatever it is. But to actually have like a shooting of this kind of degree in a shopping center is something that I expect, at least me personally, to hear from America or a different kind of country with the similar gun laws. But to hear about it happening in Copenhagen is just surprising to me, because like I've also been in that shopping center before. Obviously, I haven't been in Denmark in many months, but to imagine that I could have also been there that day if I was back home. And now you just think like, oh, what if I go to a different shopping center? What if I go to the walking street and then it happens there as well? It's hard to get weapons, these kinds of weapons in Denmark, and get access to them, but it's still possible. That's why we have the gun laws that we have, is to restrict it and make it almost impossible for them to get access. That doesn't mean that they're gonna, like, the government's gonna be able to stop it completely.
Thank you, Shakira. Yes, you're also from Copenhagen. So this, you know, it touches home, you know, for you. And thank you for sharing your personal views. I wanted to say, because you said now you're scared, you don't know if you go to the walking street or if you go to another mall, if this could happen to you. I wanted to share with you just what the Danish police said an hour or so after the shooting, or a couple of hours after they apprehended the guy. They said that this does not seem to be terror related, and they're not going to class it as a terror incident. And here we have videos of people fleeing in terror. Yeah, everyone in that mall was terrified. We've got a young person here saying she doesn't even know if she would feel safe going into a mall or the walking street. So this is a terror incident. And I don't know how you can decide in a couple of hours that it's not a terror incident when there's not a complete investigation done into this guy's background, his computer. Has it been checked? You can't do that level of investigation in a couple of hours. So I think he was just jumping in too quickly to say that it's not a terror incident. And it makes one question, what are the crimes, shooting crimes or killing crimes that are labeled as terror incident? It makes you think. Yes, Keshi?
Actually, that question is being asked in the Danish social media. I think it's on Facebook, where people are asking, why is the media not calling this tragic event a terror-related incident? Is it because the shooter was white? That is what is being asked on social media. And then they are saying that the reason given why it's not being seen as terror is because terror demands a specific motive for doing such a shooting. So because this guy apparently didn't have a motive, according to the information that's been given now, that's why it's not been called terror. But I do agree with you that terror is what creates terror in people. People are afraid. Even the kids, if you read the eyewitness of the people who are there, the young people, the girl who is in hospital right now, 16 years old, she's from Sweden, or 15, I can't remember specifically, how scared she was when this thing was happening. This is terror, homegrown terror, but they don't want to call it that, because when they call it that, then there are many questions that have to be answered. But I think it's unfair when it's a brown person or a black person who does such a thing. Immediately, people put terror. I even saw a video on this shooting, and people in the comments saying, somebody asking, oh, why did it happen? And somebody says, Islam. Even without, thinking, it's not Islam related. It has nothing to do with religion. This is a guy who has mental health issues, but he has created a terror event in Denmark, and that's what it should be called, in my opinion.
Thank you, Keshi, for giving us an update on the discussions online. As you said, the definition of terror, there has to be like a motive or a planned motive. And I'll go back to my point of, in a couple of hours, the police call it not terror related. Have they done the investigation? You can't do a complete investigation into a matter in a couple of hours. So it's a bit short-sighted to just immediately say it's not terror related, because they need to look into that guy's background, see his affiliations. And even though there's a mental health angle, that doesn't mean there's no other angle to what he did. Yes, Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, I take your point on the terror bit, but for me, it's you know, these incidents seem to have a lot of things in common. We see a lot of young, mainly white men going out to shoot. They all seem to have sort of a history of maybe trauma in their background and exposure to violence. But one thing, and obviously for me, one big difference, when you can see how many shootings there are in America, and then compared to the rest of the world, obviously the availability of weapons is a big point. I mean, yes, you can get them obviously anywhere, but it's just not that easy. But they do come in clusters. People some of the background of some of those shooters is that they really envisage to be a different person with power, with because usually they're actually some sad and often very sick people. So it's for me, the way the media reports on these incidents, it's quite important, not to validate the violence in any way. If you now be called a terrorist, somebody could see that as a medal, as something very special, because that's what they want to be seen, as a very powerful person that everyone frightens and is in fear of. So I mean, I would sort of wish that the media would actually sort of play it in a different way, that another person that sits somewhere in the world and reads about it doesn't take it as a validation for themselves to go out and shoot, to have the same media coverage, the same, almost this glorification of violence. I don't know, does it make sense? I mean, like I said, I do understand, your point of terror, why is this not? But for me, it's more important how we start portraying these killers in the media, not to sort of encourage other young men sitting somewhere in the world to go out and take it as a script, as a way to fame on their often suicidal venture.
Thank you, Catherine, for your point of view. And I agree with it to an extent. I do think if there's a consideration as to how this is reported in the media, it should be across the board. And I think that's what our point is. You can't be labeling some young men terrorists and then other young men mentally unwell, traumatized and all that, because I'm sure anyone who takes up a gun at that age to go shoot people has to have some sort of mental health problem or traumatic background or something, and they're trying to prove themselves. And when you label them terrorists, let's say the black and brown ones, you're still doing that. You're still glorifying this and giving it some sort of validation. So I agree with your point, but for it to be applied across the board to all these shooters, we shouldn't glorify them or label them in that way, that maybe that's what they're actually looking for that acknowledgement. Yes, Jamila.
I agree with Catherine on the point of, I actually think that people should just label every single one of them as having mental health problems, because even though I do believe that not all of them actually can have that, they can just enjoy killing. And I don't genuinely believe someone has to have a mental health issue to enjoy killing someone. They find it funny, or they don't think of it as realistic, like they play shooting games and they just think that that's how it is. But labeling them terrorists also gives them the acknowledgement, like you said, Chico, that, oh, I did what I was supposed to do. I did terrorize people, and now they've labeled me a terrorist. So what I've done is working, which then encourages others to do that because they see that it causes terror. So I do think that they should all just be labeled, because then it will make them feel like less than. It will make them think, oh, wow, they don't even acknowledge me as someone who can do something properly. Like, it will not give them validation. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Jamila. That's a good point. And actually having seen the videos that this guy posted the day before, he does look like, I'm sorry, but he just looks pathetic. And it looks like he wanted some validation to feel important. Because if you see that video, you just wonder, what is he doing? So I think he must be feeling somebody who feels pretty useless and decides, I'm going to go and show them. And then, obviously, if we're like giving him that validation, then he's gotten what he wanted.
He's
So yeah, thank you
insecure.
all. Sorry?
Insecure as
Yes,
well.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
do think that plays a massive part, and it's sad to say, but the ones who cause all this terror and do this are actually men. And a lot of them, you see them even when with women, like they will flip out just because a woman said no and beat her or kill her. So this type of thing, like, I know we can say mental health and stuff, but I think that's an excuse for the fact that they're so trigger happy to like go to anger. I just think that it's the way that they were brought up to always be tough and get their way all the time, and ego basically, that makes them, a lot of them, do this, and then they get the label of mental health to get away with it. I just think they're sick, like not even sick people, horrible people, evil people, because they enjoy getting something out of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's almost like Jamila, sorry to just push in, but I agree, because the mental health is almost like a way out, like an excuse. But what I meant before as well is, they need to be portrayed as somebody we have to be sorry for, like a sad person, like a sad, sick person, but not like hero, in their view, because they might also just be living in a parallel world where they sort of play their shooting game in reality. But I do think it's so important how they're portrayed, also that the media doesn't name their names. They shouldn't have a legacy. They should be just a nobody sad person who does this terrible thing. Sorry for pushing in.
Yeah, I want to also push in and say, I don't think all those who do this should be labeled as mentally ill, because this is also stigmatizing mental illness. Not everyone who has a mental illness goes around shooting people. But there's a word that Jamila used, evil people. That's how they should be portrayed in the media. If they have to be portrayed, they are evil people who are doing evil things, because when you label them that, then that's always the go-to excuse. Oh, he had mental illness. There are so many people with mental illnesses and they're not going around shooting people. But I want to also mention, with the shooting in Chicago that happened yesterday, I saw a video of the guy, and then they said, we are showing this not to glorify the guy, but to give a little background information as to why he would do this. And I'm wondering, okay, I'm sure many people want to see the face of this guy, but this actually gives him like a cult status. There are people sitting in basements right now looking up to this guy and seeing how they can do another mass shooting. So I don't even think they should be mentioned. I think they should just report that there was a shooting and don't even mention the shooter. Don't mention anything about him, to cut off that glory that he gets from just being mentioned. I'm sure he was so happy to be mentioned wherever he is, or even this Danish one, to know that, yeah, the whole world actually heard about this shooting in Denmark. He must have been, whether he's mentally ill or not, he has there's a motive. This is not just motiveless killing, the way they are trying to portray it.
Thank you, Keshi. We are going to focus on the Danish shooting for now, and we'll discuss the one in America, which was also quite sad, from yesterday. Yes, the labeling of mental health also stigmatizes people with mental health issues, and that's not fair. Also, we'll come back to Jamila's point about men. We do want to discuss that a bit, because we've looked at the statistics of female shooters, mass shooters, versus male mass shooters, and there's a it's very disproportionate. And we don't have women with mental health issues just going around shooting up, everyone just because they're suffering from mental health. So we will discuss those. I just want to hear from Marie-Claire first, and then, we can move on to the other discussions. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very complex issues. As much as I agree with you about how important it is to report these things properly and not giving the power to those who are committing crimes through how things are reported. But I think mental health, it's a very complex thing. So there might be a mental health history, some in his past. But my point is, what do we do if there was something known about the mental health? Why allowing people to, why can't they alert the police and things like that? So it looks like there's something happening all the time. And then definitely agree with you about using a mental health as an excuse, whether that person is attention seeker or, but it is sad that, it's sad, or this might happening that everyone who's looking attention, who is seeking attention or want a validation or acknowledgement, is going to find killing as a normal act. So what do we do from here? What's the government is gonna do it from here? Because it is sad. I mean, even in myself, who doesn't live in Denmark, when I heard about it, I was like, oh my God, you're right, Keshi, life is unpredictable. It is somewhere you never thought it would happen. But the fact that it happened, even in a safe country where we thought it will happen, this is kind of an opener, eye-opening for all of us. So what's the solution? I just can't think about what to do. Even in the public, it's like, there is, I'm sure those people are going to be traumatized for such a long time. For something happening like that, young people, even Shakira, who's here, who was not there, still think it's, she's scared. So it might be a trauma for her as well, even if she was there. So what's the Danish saying now? What are they going to do? The Danish government. What's the solution now?
Thanks, Marie-Claire. Yes, you're right. This is a complex issue, and as we've said, yes, there might be mental health connection there, but I also think that it's not mutually exclusive. Somebody can have mental health issues and still be other things, have other motives for this killing. And if we're going to, I suppose I'm saying, if we're going to show this kind of, it's not empathy, like some sort of trying to rationalize why somebody did something. There are many of these young people, whether they're black, brown, or white, involved in this kind of terror attacks that could have a way to rationalize why they did what they did. And there should just be an equality when it comes to dealing with people who kill, loads of people at once, or mass shootings. Keshi, in Denmark in 2015, there was another man who killed 3 people. He had connections with Syria. He was shot dead. For me, what is troubling is the way these things are handled so differently by police. On one hand, somebody is led away alive and well, and on the other hand, when they're black, brown, they don't get to live after killing, committing mass killings. So yes, Keshi, and then we'll move on to this update on the news from yesterday from America. Yes, Keshi.
Yeah, I agree about the way they tackle these issues. I told you people, I was witness to a man who had shoplifted. He was a Somali man, shoplifted in a supermarket close to me, and the police were called. And the way they tackled him, you'd have thought he had a weapon and he had a gun. 3 policemen came and tackled him to the ground. I have the video still. Tackled him to the ground and, holding him down to arrest him. It's good he wasn't even shot. And then this guy, guy with mental illness. So even in the discussion on social media was saying, isn't it time they stopped with the double standards on how they treat the different kind of perpetrators depending on their race and color. But something else, Marie-Claire asked, what is the Danish government doing? And I've seen a lot of questions being asked about this mental health angle, because according to the news, this man he's known in the psychiatry department, and he's been online talking about his medication. Why did nobody react to this? Yeah, this guy is known. He's not just a random guy. He's known in psychiatry. So if he's online posting things about his medication not working, then also, I'm not saying that he should be excused, but there should be a question mark there. And that's a question mark that actually this case is bringing a spotlight on the psychiatry treatment here in Denmark, to have this kind of people going around. We even wonder, a guy goes online and shoots, in fact, let's not glorify what he's doing, but let's not mention what he was doing. But the point is that he had shown he had weapons. So this is now a wake-up call, even for those who work in psychiatric department.
Thanks, Keshi, for that update on what the discussion is in Denmark with regards to psychiatry, mental health. But yeah, somebody told me that there was someone they worked alongside about you that said that they know how to manipulate people and get their way. So just because somebody has mental health issues, this is somebody who was under the mental health care, but they knew how to manipulate the situation to their own benefit. So me being the skeptic I am, I don't know, maybe this guy posted this stuff about his medication not working so that he could get a lesser sentence after shooting people. I don't know. There just needs to be an investigation. That's why I'm saying the police shouldn't just leap into saying it's not terror related without actually investigating the guy, his background, looking at his computer, what has he been viewing, what has he collected, and that cannot be done in a couple of hours.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and press that little notification bell to know when we next post any of our videos. We truly do appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.